Hello and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I wanted to introduce you guys to a mini series that I'm going to periodically be doing on this channel. So let's get into it. Have you guys ever read a book by a new author that you just absolutely loved and then you wanted to go back and read every single thing that they've ever written? Because I have. And I thought it'd be fun to do a mini series where I do just that, where every once in a while on this channel, I'm going to pick an author that I've been dying to read more of their works. And I go back through their backlist, read every single thing they've ever written, and rank all of them, therefore bringing forward what I think is their best book. So for this first iteration of Author Binge, we're going to be reading Elsie Silver. The first book that I ever read by Elsie Silver was Wild Love, and I read that one for the ranking the 2024 Goodreads Choice Award nominees in the category of romance miniseries that I did here, and I just loved that book so much. I found her writing so funny and so easy to follow, and I'd never read anything by her before, and I was like, man, I really want to read more of these. Since reading Wild Love, I have also read Flawless and Heartless, which are books 1 and 2 of the Chestnut Springs series. Of those 3 books, I would put Heartless in the #1 spot. This is a grumpy sunshine single dad romance, and our heroine in this one, Willa, she is the best friend of Summer, who is the female main character in the first book of this series, which we'll get to in a second. And Willa's been hired to be the nanny of Cade's son for the summer. I absolutely love this one. I gave it 5 stars. In second place, I'd put Wild Love. This is the first book in the Rose Hill series, and canonically, this series happens after the Chestnut Springs series, and it just so happens that this book is about Ford, which is Willa's brother. Ford has had some success in the music industry, and he has moved to Rose Hill and purchased this piece of land right next to his childhood best friend, and Ford is renovating the barn on that property to be a recording studio. He wants it to be this relaxing, kind of reclusive spot away from the city for artists to be able to come and really focus on their music. Ford is in the process of renovating this barn, and he has hired his best friend's sister to be his assistant. In third place, I'd put Flawless, which is the first book in the Chestnut Springs series, and in this one we're following Rhett, who is a bull rider, and after a bit of scandal with one of his sponsors, his agent has assigned him a babysitter, and she's here to help him kind of clean up his act. The only problem with this babysitter is she is his agent's daughter, Summer, who is learning the ropes of what it's like to be an agent. And Rhett is quickly finding Summer to be absolutely irresistible. And while I loved Summer's character, I wasn't really a big fan of Rhett, and that's why this is in third place. I just felt like Rhett was way too hot-headed, and the conflict that happened in this one really just kind of ruined his character for me. And for the rest of this video, I'll be reading Elsie Silver's other books and adding to this list. So let's get into it. Alrighty, let's talk about the Chestnut Springs series. After Heartless, the next one in this series is Powerless, and I like this one. This one is about Sloane, who is the Eaton family's cousin. She lives elsewhere, but every summer she came back to Wishing Well Ranch for a couple weeks, and our male main character is Jasper, who's the adopted Eaton son. Growing up, he had a lot of family issues, so he often was at Wishing Well Ranch spending time with the Eaton family. And so Jasper and Sloane, they've kind of grown up together, and they've kind of always had this bond. Now they're adults. Sloane is a prima ballerina, and Jasper is a goalie for the local NHL team. The two of them go on this road trip where they realize that they kind of have nothing to do but to talk about their feelings. I did have a moment where I was a little bummed because there's a scene where there's a cameo of a bunch of the characters from the Gold Rush Ranch series, which I realized when I was reading this book, that series all canonically takes place before this series, and I was like, oh no, should I have read that one first? And part of me thought about stopping reading and going back, and I was like, you know what, it's probably fine. So I am curious. I kind of want to go back and reread that scene once I finish the Gold Rush Ranch to really kind of get the full effect of the cameos, you know? Overall, I like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I'd put it above Flawless, but below Wild Love. And after Powerless, we have Reckless, and I loved this one. I'm of the vast minority that I kind of like a surprise pregnancy trope, and this one was done so well. So in this one, we're following Winter, who is Summer's sister, which Summer is the female main character from the first book in this series. And she's starting over her life. She is in the process of leaving her toxic, kind of abusive marriage, and she has come to Chestnut Springs to be closer to Summer. She wants to kind of rekindle their relationship. And one night, she decides to do something kind of reckless. She has a one night stand with Theo Silva, who was Rhett's bull rider prodigy. But a few weeks later, Winter realizes she's pregnant. I just loved the found family and then all the healing that you get to see Winter go through. I really, really enjoyed this one. I put this one above Wild Love, but below Heartless. And after that, the final book in the Chestnut Springs series is Hopeless. This book is about Bo, who is the middle Eaton brother, and he has just come back to Chestnut Springs after his last deployment went a little sideways, and he's kind of going through it and is really struggling with adapting back to civilian life. And so he's found himself often at the Chestnut Springs bar, and while he's there, he finds himself often having a conversation with Bailey. Bailey is the daughter of the most hated family in town, and Bailey, she's been trying to just kind of fly under the radar, earn a bunch of money so that she can get out of this small town and get away from this bad reputation that follows her everywhere. So one night, Bo makes her a bet. They will go around town telling everyone that they're engaged, allowing Bo's good reputation to kind of rub off on Bailey, and then that also gets Bo's family off of his back because they've all been really worried about him, constantly asking if he's okay and kind of just generally tiptoeing around him. But as is the case in most fake dating romances, they both get caught off guard when suddenly things start to feel not so fake. I had fun with this one. I would put this one above Powerless, but below Wild Love. So this is what our list is looking like so far. I will check back in with you guys once I finish the Gold Rush Ranch series. Hello! So I have finished the Gold Rush Ranch series, and I will say, I didn't like this one as much as the Chestnut Springs series. Don't get me wrong, these were still good, but you could tell that these were a bit earlier in her writing career, if that makes sense. So the first book in the Gold Rush Ranch series is Off to the Races. In this one, we have Billy, who's been hired to be Gold Rush Ranch's horse trainer and to kind of help them turn around their image a little bit after a bit of scandal that has happened. What Billy didn't expect was that her boss, Vaughn, to be such a broody jerk. Billy is definitely a force to be reckoned with. She is very feisty, has no filter, and definitely had me laughing out loud several times. I knew nothing about horse racing going into this, so it was kind of a fun change of pace. Also, we got to see a little bit of baby Violet. She's the sister of the Eaton brothers, which the Chestnut Springs series is about, and it was really fun to get to see a little peek of her. We also get her story, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Overall, I wasn't the biggest fan of Vaughn. I just felt like he was very cold at times, but I didn't necessarily hate him either. Overall, this definitely wasn't my favorite book. I gave it 3 stars, so not terrible, but still not my favorite. I would put this one above Flawless, but below Powerless. Now, the second book in this series is about Violet, and that is A Photo Finish. And it's fun because in this book, it kind of goes backwards a little bit in time. So the things that are happening in this book are also happening at the same time as some of the things that happened in the first book. And I kind of love when series do that because you're like, oh, this was all happening at the same time. I personally love that little kind of micro trope. In this one, we're watching Violet as she is progressing in her career as a jockey. We're also watching as she has more and more interactions with Cole, who is Vaughn's older, much broodier brother. Cole has a lot of emotional trauma, both from growing up, but also from his time in the military, and something I did appreciate about this book is the therapy representation. I don't want to spoil too much about this one. There was a couple things that I still didn't love about this one, so while I did give this a 3 stars, it is like a high 3 stars. I'd put this one above Off to the Races, but below Powerless. The third book in this series is The Front Runner, and I loved this one. So this one is about Mira, who is the area's like local veterinarian, and Stefan. Same as a photo finish, part of this book takes place at the same time as things that are happening in the second book, and that just made it really fun. But we've seen Stefan a little bit, and he definitely isn't the most liked in this small town of Ruby Creek. He definitely hasn't made great first impressions, and everyone thinks pretty poorly of him. Until Mira starts spending more and more time with him when one of his horses, who lost her baby, took in one of the orphaned like baby horses from Gold Rush Ranch. And Mira's working with him and kind of seeing him daily and starting to realize that maybe he's not as bad of a guy as everyone thinks he is. And maybe the rumor mill has gone a bit crazy. You guys know I'm a sucker for found family, and I really like this one. I had a great time. I listened to a little bit of the audiobook for this one, and I really enjoyed the narrators as well. They did a great job doing like Stefan's accent. I gave this one 5 stars. I'd put it above Wild Love, but below Reckless. And the final book in the Gold Rush Ranch series is A False Start. This one does the same thing as the other previous 2 books, where part of this takes place at the same time as the beginning of the 3rd book in this series. And this one is about Nadia, who is Stefan's little sister, and Griffin, who is Stefan's best friend. The 2 of them had a chance encounter before they both knew who each other was, and they shared a very steamy kiss in a bar bathroom. Fast forward a couple years, and Nadia has really been working on herself, trying to really just heal from her childhood trauma, and also just trying to figure out what she wants to do with her life. At first, I found her character kind of annoying and immature, but I really enjoyed the healing and the like growth that you saw Nadia go through. And same with Griffin. He also has a good amount of emotional trauma, and you also get to see him start to work through that as well. I will say I'm not always a fan of 3rd act breakups, but this one, it kind of felt necessary, and I kind of liked it. Again, I appreciate the therapy representation in this one. I also gave this one 5 stars, and I'd put this one above Wild Love, but below The Front Runner. And that's everything for this series. Now, the last 2 books I have for this video are the 2nd and 3rd book in the Rose Hill series. I read the first one already. That is the book that started this whole video, Wild Love. So I'm really excited to read these next 2. I know that the 4th book in this series comes out later this year, I think. So I'm also excited to read that one. But for the sake of this video, our last 2 books are going to be Wild Eyes and what's the other one called? Wild something. So I will check back in with you guys once I finish those 2. Hello! So I have finished the last remaining books for this video, and I realized after I had already filmed the last clip, I forgot a book. I forgot to read the novella that is like a part of the Gold Rush Ranch series, which is called Out of the Gate. And that one is about Ada and Dermont, I think that's how you say his name, who are the grandparents of Vaughn and Cole. And they're the ones who kind of transformed Gold Rush Ranch from just a regular cattle ranch into like a horse racing competitor. Overall, I gave that one 3 stars. It was a cute peek into the past, but I also felt like it didn't make a lot of sense for the time. Like the way that the characters spoke and just the kind of words that they used, I felt didn't really make sense for the time frame that this, like the time period that this would have been in. And this also was a very like whirlwind relationship. Like it was very quick, which, you know, when you're only like 107 pages, you do kind of have to like hustle the story along. So overall, it was cute. I had fun. I read it in a couple hours. I gave it 3 stars, and I would put this one below Flawless. Now back to the Rose Hill series. The next book in that series would be Wild Eyes, and this one is about Wes, who is Rosie's sister and Ford's next door neighbor from the first book in this series, Wild Love. And our female main character is Skylar Stone. Skylar is a country star, and she has come up to Rose Hill to come record with Ford and kind of overall just get a break from the media and everything and just kind of get away and have some peace. I really enjoyed the healing and the self-discovery that Skylar went through, and I also really enjoyed Wes's character. I feel like a lot of the male main characters in Elsie Silver's books are kind of just like broody, grumpy assholes, and it was really fun to have this change of pace where Wes is a very like kind of happy-go-lucky guy, very unserious, which just made it really fun. I gave this one 5 stars, and I would put it above a false start but below the frontrunner. And our final book is Wild Side. In this one, we're following Tabitha, who is Rosie's best friend, and Reese, who we've seen a little bit in the previous 2 books, and you finally get to figure out why they have such a tumultuous relationship. I absolutely loved the found family in this one, but what kept this from being a 5-star read for me was I just wanted the 2 of them to just have an adult conversation. I really feel like if the 2 of them would have just sat down and had an adult conversation where they just put all their cards on the table, they could have just saved so much time that they spent like hating each other. And I get it, that's what made this an enemies to lovers, but I wanted them to be adults and have an adult conversation about the whole situation that they found themselves in. And I don't want to say anything more than that because I don't want to spoil it for you guys, because this one was really fun. So for that reason, this is a 4-star read. I would put this one above Hopeless but below Wild Love. Alrighty, that is it for today's video. Thank you so much for being here. This one was quite the undertaking. I quite literally finished Wild Side today, and as I'm filming this, it is 8:24 the night before this video goes live. Was reading 10 books for one video kind of a lot? Yes. Will I do it again? Probably, because it was really fun. I just had so much fun doing this video, so hopefully you guys liked it, because I really want to do this again. I already kind of have a running list of a couple people that I think would be fun to do another version of this video for, so those may or may not be coming up later this year. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have read any of the books that I talked about today. Let me know what your thoughts on them are. And don't forget to subscribe. I post new videos every single Wednesday, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.